Here I am at Shambhala Mountain Center, and we've just completed an amazing program called Wisdom in Action. And I'm so excited that we're going to have another opportunity in the fall to go deeper with some of the themes that were stirred up, that were evoked, and that were brought to an aliveness that I haven't seen in a group in a very long time. So in the fall, we're going to have a program that is specifically related to women in leadership, and it's called Wisdom Rising. And I just wanted to recount a little story that happened to me as I was walking up the path on the way to get some tea. And one of the male participants in this program stopped me on the path and he said, "Thank you so much for what you've been teaching. It's really impacted me, it's really touched me." And he said, "I'm noticing that the people that I'm connecting to and that I'm feeling inspired by are all women. And I'm just surprised that isn't how it's been in my life before." And he said, I mean, from my wife to, my daughter, and up here, all of the people that I connected to were women. He said, "Do you know anything about that? What is that?" And of course, I didn't really know this person, and I just said, "Well, I'm really interested too. Let's hold that question together. What might that be?" And so we just paused for a moment and took some space to inquire into what might that be. And he said, "Well, I noticed for myself that I've just been a doer all of my life. I've been so focused on accomplishing things, on achieving, and on being the best that I can be. And at this stage in my life," and he was probably in his late 50s, he said, "I just feel like that's not enough. I am missing something, and I'm not quite sure what it is, but I see it in these women." So I asked him, what are you seeing? And he said, "Well, I think what it is they see differently. They see differently than I do." And we didn't have a lot of time to pursue that, but for me that was just a very intriguing kind of entree into some of the deep questions about the feminine principle, as we call it in Buddhism, and what's possible now, and why this conference, or conferences like it, or conversations like this might be particularly relevant now. I think what I'm seeing as someone who does leadership development and leadership coaching is that there's a real shift in what's needed in organizations right now as we're facing an incredibly chaotic and challenging environment. Not just our physical environment, certainly global warming and the changes that are taking place in just the numbers of species and the kind of degradation of the environment and so on are all very, very critical. But I'm also talking about our psychological environment and just the way that we're engaging with our work and with our lives. So sometimes this is called VUCA, which stands for volatility, uncertainty, chaos, and ambiguity. There's so much happening right now. We're living in this kind of VUCA world. And that what people are doing is coping. Now, not everyone is kind of caught up in that. Many of us have places where we can connect, family, community, and so on. But there are huge populations in our world right now that are displaced, that are, people that are immigrating to other countries, people at war, and just people in our own cities in North America that are homeless. And so we have both happening at the same time, a kind of very rich and sort of privileged experience juxtaposed with devastation and kind of a degradation of human life and of the environment that's taking place at the same time. That paradox is hard to live with. And we're seeing the result of that in the kind of increase in depression, the increase in alienation, and just a kind of malaise that is happening not only in society in general, but particularly in the workplace. So, going back to leadership, facing this VUCA world, this world of difficulty, volatility, uncertainty, and so on, it's really, really important to be able to reclaim our own sense of connectedness to ourselves to begin with, and then our connectedness to each other and to our world. And that's not an easy task. But that's what I see as having been somewhat the traditional role of women, is providing that connectedness. But in a much more sort of broad sense, it's a missing piece for us as human beings, whether we're male or female. This feminine principle, which begins with a kind of spaciousness and a willingness to pause and experience what's actually happening now. And then moving into, rather than answers, moving into inquiry. So when I met this gentleman on the path, and we were able to hold that question together, something shifted, something changed for him. He didn't really need an answer from me. What he needed was his own answer that could come from within. So what I see as the real opportunity now is shifting from the external VUCA world to tuning into our own version of that internally, which I think of as, connecting to our values. So that's, rather than volatility and that kind of up and down that happens when we're focused on the external world. If we can come back to our own sense of who we are as human beings, whoever we are and however we present ourselves, being able to rest with that and to acknowledge that is the beginning of kind of connecting to that shift from external to internal. And then that brings about understanding, which allows us then to open up to others and to connect with them where they are rather than where we want them to be. And that's just vital in this time where we don't know the answers. We're in a fix, really. We're in a strange time where many of us think we have the answer, and for some reason, other people just aren't going along with the program. And the more that we try to assert that we're right, the further into a hole we dig ourselves. So the next step, I think, beyond this kind of understanding is a real commitment to collaboration and to discovering what can we do together. So again, this is really based on some of the principles of the feminine, which have to do with opening up space, bringing in inquiry, and relating to things as they are as the basis for what you might do in the future, rather than starting here and kind of projecting out a concept of what it is we would like to have in the future, and then trying to bring that into being. So you could say that this approach to leadership, which of course can be practiced by men or by women, is one that includes emergence. So from connecting to our values and to our hearts, and then connecting in with understanding of others and inviting their points of view, and then exploring our own authenticity from that place, we can move into action that's informed by all of that, rather than something that we cooked up or something that was someone's brainchild. Instead, it's coming out of a collaborative inquiry that we can then take action on together. So this I see as a really exciting potential for bringing the feminine principle into leadership and opening up a whole new way of seeing that allows leaders to not reject what's right in front of their eyes, but instead to very openly and with compassion see what's happening. And some of the things we may see that are happening are very disappointing, may be painful, may be difficult, may be irritating. And so this is where the practice of meditation can really help us abide in that ambiguity and allow ourselves to just sit with it to start with. Of course, it's important to take action beyond that. But if we take action prematurely without having actually touched into our wisdom, the actions that result probably won't have the kind of staying power and sustainability and healing that we want long term. So I'm very excited about Wisdom Rising and about exploring the questions that matter. One of the things I'm really excited about with this conference are the presenters. And each of the presenters in her own way has been a leader in her community, and in some cases really a thought leader in this whole area of women, Buddhism, wisdom, and how to actually bring this into the world. So the leadership component here is very exciting because we have exemplars, and these are people that you can talk to, that you can learn from, that you can engage with, and they're not going to be presenting themselves as the expert, but they're going to be presenting themselves as resources that are available to you so that you can go through your own journey. And we'll be spending quite a bit of time articulating those questions, surfacing them, and inviting all of us to work quite deeply on discovering what gets in our way when we're trying to collaborate, when we're trying to move into emergence as a way of working with change, and what are the ways that we can support one another, what are the ways that we can actually bring this into being. So I invite you all to attend. I think it will be just a wonderful process. And we will be utilizing the feminine principle in the design of the program, in the way it's facilitated, and really exploring this from a fresh perspective. And of course, men are also welcome to attend the program. So hope to see you in the fall. Thank you.